Good evening and welcome to the September 25th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. This meeting is being held virtually via Zoom video conference and is also being broadcast by FCTV on cable channel 9. As this meeting is being recorded by Zoom and broadcast by FCTV, please be cognizant of what you say, how you say it, and what can be seen and heard in your background. We're missing a commissioner, but we have a quorum, so we're moving forward. And as a reminder to the commissioners that I'll call on each of you, Courtney, in turn, so let's not speak over each other. And that all votes are done by roll call, so when I call your name, please state your name and your vote for the record, even if you've made the motion or the second. To our public attendees, at any time during this meeting, you may enter any comments or questions via the chat function. At the appropriate time, they will be read into the record. If you would like to participate in a specific hearing, let us know via the chat function. Then at the appropriate time, I will call for public comment. When you are selected, you will be moved into the hearing as a participant. As such, you must have your video enabled, be succinct, and respectful of others. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes each. Regarding RDAs, under a request for determination of applicability, the applicant is asking the Commission to determine if the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and/or the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw apply to their proposed project. A negative determination is that the provisions of the Act and/or the bylaw do not apply. Therefore, the project may proceed as proposed. A positive determination means the provisions of the Act and/or the bylaw do in fact apply and/or may require some conditions. So in most cases, that project would require a notice of intent application. So for simplicity, as an applicant, you kind of want to hear a negative answer. So without further ado, first up tonight is to vote the minutes of September 11, 2024.
Mr. Chairman, I reviewed the minutes and I'd move approval pending any comments this evening.
Word, second.
All right. Questions or comments? All right, we have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as submitted. We're voting to accept the minutes. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Word, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Ron?
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted the minutes of September 11. Thank you, Kristen. Next up is a request for a continuance under a notice of intent. Michael Smith and Yvonne Chong, 4 Whittemore Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to upgrade an existing sewage disposal system, construct a second floor addition, and install mitigation plantings. Jen? Jen, you with us?
Yes, I am. Just wanting to make sure I got the correct date.
Okay.
They are requesting a continuance until October 23rd.
All right. This is like the third one. Will they be ready, do you think?
We're hoping.
So moved.
Driscoll, second.
Being optimistic.
All right. They will be ready. All right. We have a motion and a second to continue this hearing until October 23rd. Questions or comments? We're voting on the continuance. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Word, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Ron?
Driscoll, aye.
Steve?
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until October 23rd. Next up are requests for determination of applicability. First up, Robert Jagat, 5 Ottawa Lane, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to remove a greenhouse, construct an addition and 2 dormers, and reconstruct the roof line. Fallon?
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and this project solely takes place in an AE flood zone.
Thank you.
Word, so move.
Driscoll, second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting. Betsy,
Felter, aye. Aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Elizabeth Irving, 65 Irving Road, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to vista prune according to FWR 10.18, 10B. Fallon,
Staff recommends a +2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and I can elaborate.
please do.
So staff feels as though a vista prune is not applicable for this property. A vista already exists on this property, and it has been repeated management of this row of trees that the applicant would like to cut. And the last permitted vista was in 2019, and they have been cutting for years and would like to continue that, but overall we just don't think a vista is applicable for this property. And I'm not sure, let me see, I'm not sure if the homeowner is in the chat, Jen.
I don't see anybody here for 65 Irving. If anybody is here for 65 Irving, if you could use the raise hand function, we can promote you up to a panelist. So as Fallon said, Mr. Chairman, there is a very established vista off the south side of the deck. We can continue this matter if the board would like to go out and view the site yourselves. Their vista over the marsh towards Vineyard Sound is off the back of the deck. They want to cut on the side of the deck. When the agents were out there, they were told that they have routinely been managing, I guess, this area for years without any proper permits, because the vista is off the back of the deck. We just don't feel it's appropriate or fits into the vista pruning guidelines. But again, if the board would like to go out and review for yourselves, usually that happens when we recommend a positive.
Right. So the vista that exists now, is that a previously approved vista prune?
We'd have to
Sorry,
go
can I-
back. Yeah. It's this way. When was there vistas on that, Fallon? There weren't too many.
So in 2019, a vista got approved for where they currently want it. In the staff report, all we could really tell is that the agent at the time met multiple times with the arborist and explained the vista guidelines for what they're proposing now. But the vista already just seems to be like a natural vista, just not very high vegetation growing in that area.
And this is from like a second story deck.
Right, but they can't have two vistas.
Yeah.
No. So
So,
what I would suggest is we continue this for a week. The board goes out and reviews it yourselves, and then we can revisit this on October 2nd. Just so you're informed and you know what you're,
Hey, I'll make a motion to continue this till next week.
Bird, second.
all right. So everybody clear on that? So we'll continue this next week. You'll have the opportunity to go out and look at it for yourselves, and maybe we can make just a more informed decision.
Fallon, do we have a plan on this one?
We do not.
Okay, so if you'll send the board the actual RDA application, and I know you've already sent your staff report, but send that again.
The staff report was very helpful with the pictures and everything, just to say it. So,
Yeah.
even without a plan, it's pretty descriptive. So that helps. But yeah,
Yes.
Fallon, if you would resend that to everybody just to make sure. And then everybody have a chance to take a look at it. Questions or comments?
Sure.
All right. We have a motion and a second to continue this until next week. We're voting for the continuance. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this RDA request until 10/2. All right, brings us to William and Elizabeth Scannell, 314 Quistit Avenue, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to construct a stairway and install mitigation plantings. Fallon,
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Driscoll, second.
all right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up, Ann and Ed Stern, 449 Sipawissett Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to pump, fill, and abandon the existing leaching pit and to install a new Title V sewage disposal system. Fallon,
Staff recommends a -3 under the state and -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Driscoll,
Patton, second.
all right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Next up is a continued request for determination of applicability. Samantha and David O'Neill, 103 Shorewood Drive, East Falmouth, Mass, for permission to reconstruct an existing deck and construct a rinse station. Fallon,
Oh, shoot. Sorry, I messed it up. I skipped to 103 Shorewood for the last one instead of 449 Sipawissett. But for 103 Shorewood, staff recommends a -3 under the state and -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed.
Bird, so move.
Driscoll, second.
all right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? We're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Thank you for all that work, Fallon.
Mhm.
Next
Gold
up
star.
are
Gold star.
Gold Star, yeah. Next up are continued requests for a hearing under notice of intent. Jen, is that wrong? This wasn't continued. This first one wasn't continued. I don't suppose it matters, but
Oh,
Anyway.
no, that's missed. I'm sorry, I missed that. So it's just hearings
Uh,
under a notice of intent.
okay. Of course, the legalese is the same, but
Yeah,
you know, I wanted to be an English teacher in my youth, you know. All right. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. As a reminder, public commenting is limited to 3 minutes, so I encourage you to stay within the purview of this board. I skipped something. Nope. Which are the rules and regulations of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw and how they pertain to a particular application. The chair reserves the right to stop any commenting that is disparaging or inconsequential to the hearing. First up, Michael Carasato, United States Coast Guard, Woodsole, Mass, for permission to replace Broadway Day Beacon number 3, an aid to navigation structure off the coast. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have promoted Christine Perron, I hope I pronounced that correctly, from McFarland and Johnson. They're a consulting company in New Hampshire to present the Coast Guard's project. Welcome, Christine.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Commission. As Jen said, my name is Christine Perrin. I'm an environmental scientist with the consulting firm McFarland Johnson. I'm here also, I believe, with Dan Del Tufo, who is with Appledore Marine Engineering. We're part of the consultant team assisting the U.S. Coast Guard with the design and permitting of this project.
I can promote Daniel up.
Sure. I'm sure we'll need him if there are questions, but I'm going to just give you a brief overview. The Coast Guard is proposing repairs, replacement, or demolition of 10 existing aids to navigation located along the coast of Massachusetts. 4 structures require in-water work, and one of those structures requiring in-water work is located in Falmouth, which is a structure known as Broadway Day Beacon 3. The structure services the Woods Hole passage between Woods Hole and Nonamesset Island. Hopefully I got that right. The structure is a steel monopile braced with 2 steel batter piles. Overall, it's in critical condition, and the project is proposing its complete replacement. In order to replace a structure, a barge will be mobilized to the site, from which the majority of the work and staging will be completed. The existing structure will be removed in its entirety and replaced with a steel tripod that's rock-socketed into bedrock. The proposed work will result in approximately 189 square feet of impacts to the resource area land under the ocean. The project is located within mapped habitat for 3 state-listed tern species, and the project is being submitted concurrently to NHESP for review. The project is also located within the known range of federally listed species, and consultation with the National Marine Fisheries Service is underway. The NOI package that was submitted does include a list of avoidance and minimization measures that will be implemented to avoid adverse impacts to sensitive species. And we are happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Excellent. Thank you. Jen?
Christine, I haven't seen anything from Natural Heritage yet. Have you guys received anything from them?
I have not.
Okay, so we won't be able to close the hearing until we receive their comments.
Yep. Understood.
I mean, if we're only here for Natural Heritage comments, and we all know they're going to do a no take, because I can't really see how it would result in a take. Mr. Chairman, can we put them on next week just in case we get the letter in on time? And if not, we can kick it to the 16th.
Yeah, but don't we want to go through comments first?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
I have no comments, Mr. Chairman. I just want to know what we just waiting for Natural Heritage.
Gotcha. Okay. Fallon? Questions or comments?
No comment. No comment. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner comments or questions, Betsy?
No questions, and my only comment is I'm glad you're replacing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a key aid to navigation there.
Yeah. Courtney?
I agree with Betsy. The question, you mentioned that it's going to be a steel tripod that you're going to install. What's the life expectancy of that steel underwater?
I will look for Dan to answer that for you if he's available.
Yeah, I mean, the longer it can last and the less you have to replace it, the happier everybody is. That's what I want to know.
Absolutely.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dan Del Tufo. I'm the civil engineer working with Christine on this project. Thank you for having me. The life expectancy that we typically design for these in-water structures estimates to be about 30 years, is what we could comfortably assume.
Okay,
Not
you
bad.
answered my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Kevin.
After that, no questions. Thank you.
All right. Ron.
I'm all set. Thank you.
Steve.
Oh, no questions. I wanted to get technical, but just how do you manage to put these 30 feet into the ground? What's the technique? How does that happen? It has nothing to do with our regulations, but I was just curious.
Not a problem. Dan can address that for you.
Sure. What we've designed is a rock socketed anchor. Contractor would drill into the bedrock, install the pile, and then grout it into place.
Thank you.
Kind of basic.
Yeah, it's in Woods Hole Harbor, though.
All right.
That's all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman, but we do need to wait for Natural Heritage's comment.
Yeah, so at the request of the applicant, I'll make a motion to continue this till October.
I would do the second. Hopefully we can
Second,
get the
October
comments in
2nd.
by then.
Fiscal
Third,
second.
second.
All right. We have a motion in multiple seconds to continue this until October 2nd. And basically for the purpose of receiving comments from National Heritage.
Correct. Time of year
all right.
restrictions, things like that.
Yep. As if they're not going to allow it. Yeah. All right. Any more questions or comments? All right. We're voting on the continuance. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
No.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until October 2nd. Thank you, Christine. Thank you,
Right.
Dan.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Good night.
All right. Then let's do that housekeeping thing at the end.
Yes.
Towards the end. Okay. Next up, continued request for a hearing under notice of intent. Brad Chase, Massachusetts Department of Marine Fisheries, Wings Pond, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to repair the channel and weirs used for fish passage between Wings Pond and Buzzards Bay. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Unfortunately, DEP has not issued a number yet, so I would like to continue this until October 2nd for the purposes of a DEP number only.
Okay.
There's some
So move.
Fiscal second.
DEP is claiming that Division of Marine Fisheries hasn't submitted the fees. The Division of Marine Fisheries is saying they don't need to submit the fees. They're a state agency. They're exempt. And there's a disconnect somewhere between DMF and DEP. So they're not issuing a file number. So Brad's aware of it. We made him aware of it today. He's trying to work with the analysts. So hopefully we'll have something by next week.
All right. Above my pay grade. All right. So we have a motion and a second to continue this until 10/2, pretty much just for the purpose of obtaining a DEP number.
Correct.
So we're simply voting on the continuance. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
No.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until October 2nd. All right. Next up, Stephen Fuhrer, R&B Development LLC, 134 Minot Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to repair and expand the existing riprap revetment and to conduct beach and dune nourishment. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I am promoting Chuck Rowland from Cape and Islands Engineering to present his project. I don't believe I see anybody
The
else
quorum
here.
is all of us tonight because this has not been
This hasn't
previously
been open,
open.
yes. Correct. Chuck, are you with us?
Yes, I just want to make
There
sure
you
everyone can
are.
hear me. Hello, hello. Good evening, everyone. I'm assuming you guys want to see the plan.
Absolutely.
Great. So Chuck Rowland, Cape and Islands Engineering. I'm here in front of you tonight, representing the client, R and B Development at 134 Minot Road. So I'll kind of just run down the project with you real quick. With this revised plan, we're proposing to repair approximately 320 linear feet of existing licensed stone revetment along the tidal waters of Great Pond. As you can see, the shaded area. The rock will include the restoration and expansion of an existing naturally vegetated buffer and the nourishment of an eroded portion of the coastal bank, which is right here. Sorry, coastal dune. And the work will be within the state and locally defined coastal beach, coastal bank, coastal dune, and land under salt pond. Land subject to tidal action and land subject to coastal storm flowage, and then within 100 feet of a small salt marsh right there. I won't run through the pretty extensive narrative, but essentially we have two structures here that date back. I think part of it dates back to the 30s. We kind of don't have exactly complete documents on that. Obviously, there's been some work done before. The most recent filing was for this area right here for the dune to be cut down for public safety, so that way people could enter and exit the property without with a better view of oncoming cars. So this project in front of you is to rebuild portions of the existing revetment, as well as expanding the revetment landward. We've shown some staging areas, work limits, as well as some roof drainage that we'll be incorporating. The reason for this project is that the existing revetment in several areas is experiencing some significant erosion, both from the top and overwashing. And then additionally, it's probably at least 80 years old, so it's just met its design life. And so we've expanded it landward to provide better coastal sustainability during significant storm events. We have several thousand feet of fetch here to the north, which during high tide and during a winter storm can see pretty substantial wave action run up on these rocks, which will not only push the rocks around, but also cause erosion above it. So that's really why the expansion above it is required. We've shown some native planting to be restored in the light blue, and then we've eroded area to be nourished with beach compatible sand in this general area right here. I've shown a couple of different cross sections. So this is a kind of generic cross section. We'll be rebuilding in the same footprint on the ocean side, and then we'll be protecting the rest of the slope going up to protect against future more significant storms. And then the other section I have here is the section that we're going to show to try to protect, not try, we will protect the salt marsh that kind of popped up during our original survey. We did not notice it. And then we had a meeting with the conservation staff, and it was noticed then. So we came up with a way to protect the salt marsh. Originally, we proposed a much broader project to kind of encompass the whole area, as well as work closer to the dune. And I think that we've addressed the conservation staff by reducing the scope of the work to the real critical areas, the areas that we really foresee happening in the near future, and adding a little bit tighter work areas, and really doing our best to reduce the overall impacts during construction. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Chuck. You can stop sharing,
Sure.
please. All right, Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I'm about to sneeze. We met with Chuck out there. He has greatly reduced the scope of the project, so we appreciate that, Chuck. Tweak some areas where they were going to do staging in the dunes, so that's gone. So I like that, Chuck. The only comments you'll pretty much see from us are going to mirror DMF's comments: time of year restriction, protecting that salt marsh, low tide, things like that. So appreciate what you did with the plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alan.
No additional comments. Thank you. Thanks, Chuck.
Commissioner comments. Courtney.
No comments. Thank you.
All right. Looks like a good project, Chuck. Thank you for working with staff. Kevin.
No comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ron.
I just checked, and then the original project had beach nourishment and instructions for beach nourishment, and then I think the most recent project is no beach nourishment. So I consider that there's no beach nourishment in the project now.
No, we've kept the 10 yards of beach nourishment on the east side, just kind of next to between the groin and the revetment work. It's 10 cubic yards, and trying to look for the 10 cubic yards and less than 600 square feet of impact. So it's a very small area, and it's really to provide not so much storm damage, but daily inundation of the stairs that have really become eroded in that area, that provide access to the water and the beach in that area for the residents.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Steve.
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
All right. Betsy.
I have to unmute to say I don't have any questions. And to thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Chuck.
All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to close this hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird
Fiscal
second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Chuck, you get the first closed hearing tonight. You get the award. All right. We're voting to close the hearing. Questions, last questions or comments? All right. Betsy.
I think the 5,000th permit was the better award than Chuck's award. You'll have to come again, Chuck. We'll do better.
All right.
Aye. Gladfelter, aye.
Come back for the 10,000. Yeah. All right. Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
And I.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thanks, Chuck.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you, Chuck.
All right. Next up, excuse me, John Rosenfeld, 41 Beckles Road and 0 Beckles Road. Map and parcel ID 36-06-000-007, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to raise, RAZE, an existing single-family dwelling and construct a new single-family dwelling with a patio and attached garage, construct a carriage house, upgrade the existing sewage disposal system, and install mitigation plantings. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have promoted Mark Dibb to present his project. Hey, Mark.
Good evening, Mark Dibb with Cape and Islands, presenting the project for 41 Beckles Road for John and Patricia Rosenfeld. We filed a notice of intent application for permission to demolish an existing house, build a new house with decks, patios, and a new carriage house, and upgrade the septic system and relocate a path. With your permission, I'd like to share my screen.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the existing lot consists of a single family home up near Beckles Road. To the northwest is Buzzards Bay. There's a rather steep slope up a coastal bank, and then it continues to slope up towards the house, not quite as steep as the bank, to the existing house. Existing single family houses are to the northeast and southwest, with Beckles Road to the southeast. There's also a FEMA flood zone. The VE25 flood zone line is here. We've shown the 25-foot Falmouth V zone as well. And then the A buffer zone is shown on the plan as this green line, and a B buffer zone shown here. So the project tonight consists of demolishing the existing dwelling and building a new dwelling. The majority of that house, actually the entire house, is out of the outside the B zone. Notice there's a very small portion of this patio, the last set of steps down off the patio are in the B zone, as well as a small or a carriage house with a drive-in door on one side is proposed, and that as well is partially in the B zone. This side of the house is in the B zone. As part of the proposal, some trees are being proposed to be removed. The trees associated with construction of the carriage house will be removed in this area, as well as this one tree that would be affected by grading associated with this terraced area in the back would be removed. The new work does trigger some mitigation. It triggers about 719 square feet of development in the B zone, which creates 1,438 square feet of mitigation, of which we're proposing 1,440 square feet of mitigation. As a result of staff report, I want to just go through a few of the main items, and then we'll let staff follow up on that. This gray area on the plan is a previously proposed mitigation area for this timber access stairs. You may recall approving that. The gray area was not installed by the previous owner, and the new owner intends to install that area as part of this project. The green areas are the mitigation, and there's a number of existing pathways on the project. There's this path that provides access down here. That was actually already per the previous NOI supposed to be restored. So we've noted that on this plan as restoration only. That is not being included as mitigation. And then there is an existing grass path to this timber stairs, as well as an existing path that runs along the top of the bank and it goes over to this part of the site. And what that path does is provides better walking access, that you could maybe carry a kayak or something like that down this. These stairs would be very treacherous to carry something other than a cooler maybe, but the applicant is proposing to remove this existing path. And there's even a fourth path on this site over here in essentially in exchange to provide an area that something like a kayak could be carried through this area. It's actually a net reduction of paths for the property. And this path would not require any removal of trees. It would just be, it wouldn't even really be any surface other than the natural ground surface. So we are proposed by removing these two paths. This path is a less linear footage. And then lastly, the thing I wanted to point it out was in the staff report, there were some pictures regarding some tree clearing that appeared to have happened primarily as far as the trees go, primarily in this area. The applicant, somewhere between this timber access stairs and the new applicant purchasing the lot, that tree clearing was done. We have proposed additional trees to offset that, which we intended to be outside the tree canopy. Staff did have a follow-up condition that they would work with the applicant for those particular trees. We are proposing to mitigate for the trees related to the proposed projects. They will be out in the A zone, not under any kind of tree canopy. These would be appropriate locations, but we definitely agree to a condition related to the trees in general, and more particularly the extra trees as mitigation for the cutting that was done by the previous owner. I think that wraps up my presentation. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thanks, Mark. Jen.
I think our only revised comments were those with the trees. A lot of them are being placed under canopy. How are you going to keep them free of invasives, especially the ones over by the bank? Because the bank goes down, the top of the bank's down off that slope. Mark, how are you going to get in there to plant those trees on that bank?
You mean again over on the westerly side?
No, I mean the ones near the staircase.
They are in between. They're proposed up, above the main steep bank.
Okay.
They are in that area of growth that's not grass. So yes, they would be in that natural area, but that it's rather flat there at that point for those trees.
Sure.
They would
And
be
how are you
just,
going to keep them free of invasives over there? Because that bank's pretty invaded.
we could implement an invasive management protocol if that would help. We did have, if I could just share my screen again one more time real quick. We did note that we would like to manage invasives on this area.
Which area?
This orange outline. Right here, which encompasses a few of those trees. These other trees will be in the new mitigation areas as well. So, if a condition to submit some kind of invasives protocol could help, we could do that. But that's where the trees are proposed.
That you're going to provide us the prior to implementation? No. I think they might have missed that. We're gonna. Yeah, I'm uncomfortable with that.
Jen, you need to face us speaking.
Oh, sorry. I'm a little uncomfortable, Mark, with the language that you're going to provide the protocols for this invasive species management after we close the hearing.
Yeah, I mean,
Mark, can you stop sharing, please?
Oh, sorry.
No, it was helpful.
Like, we don't know who's gonna do it, what this invasive species management is gonna be like, what percent invaded, what you're gonna use to plant it back. It's kind of vague.
Could we come back with an
Before you come back with an amendment on the invasive species, when you have
If-
it a little bit more fleshed out, that would be fine.
if we plan to implement that? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
If you plan to implement it, I'm not going to approve it on here, but if you plan to implement it, come back with an amendment, which is a little bit more detail.
Okay.
Does that seem fair enough?
Yes.
Okay. Other than that, I have no questions, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Fallon.
I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Okay. All right, commissioner comments. Hey, I'm up. All right, Mark, I think it's a good project, good presentation. If we just deal with that invasives as an amendment, that would be helpful. So, Kevin.
No further questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ron.
No questions or comments. Thank you.
All right, Steve. We lose Steve.
We did lose Steve. Where did Steve go? Hang on.
Where's
He's
Waldo?
not in. Wait a minute. Ron, me, Jamie. Yeah, we lost Steve. Where did he go? He's not in attendees. And he's not in here. He must have, something must have happened to Steve.
Maybe
Okay.
the electricity went off in his neighborhood.
Moving on.
All right. We'll come back. All right. So, skipping Steve. Betsy.
So Mark, you've probably already had this, but I went to this site a few weeks ago. What are the trees you're planting? What kinds of trees are you planning to plant?
Give me 1 second. We had a mix of basically 2 or 3 of each of white oaks, red maples, and black tupelos.
Okay, and the other question I have is, Jen, are you comfortable with the mitigation trees in the mitigation? Should there be, X amount of square feet extra mitigation?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, we could condition
We
that.
can condition that. So the 3 trees you have in your mitigation area, they like to see the little 5-foot diameter around them and then bump out that. Still don't see Steve. So we can condition that for you, Mark.
Okay.
Other than that, it was a complex plan. Thanks, Mark.
So, okay. Courtney.
What is it, guest house? How much square footage of living space is there in that?
It'll take me 1 minute to check that. It's 1 floor only. The bottom is essentially a garage, and the dimensions are. I did not have.
I mean, I presume it meets the Falmouth code requirements on an accessory apartment.
Yes, it's definitely a lot.
So it's less than 800 square feet or 40% of the house?
The footprint is 944. So it is 944 square feet.
Well, it could be less on the second floor for living
Yeah,
space.
right, yeah. But it will comply with zoning.
It'll reply, okay, that's fair enough. Thank you, no other questions.
All right. Do we have Steve back?
We have Steve.
He
I can see a
shows up.
square that says Steve. Steve, are you there?
All right,
I see a square that says Steve. I don't think he's fully back yet, the chairman.
okay. So we're gonna count him out. We have a quorum anyway, so we're good anyway. Is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat function, Mr. Chairman.
Make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird second.
Excellent. We have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Last call, questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a comment. Steve heard everything except this last part of closing it. So he can still be on the quorum.
Okay. But he's not here to vote.
Yeah, but that's,
To
he
close it.
doesn't. Yeah,
Yeah.
he doesn't. Yeah. But I mean,
I'm
he
with
can
you.
vote next week.
Okay. Duly noted. All right. We have a motion and a second to close the hearing. No other questions or comments? We're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
All right. With this quorum in attendance, we have closed this hearing. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Good night. Oh, wait, you have one more, don't you, Mark?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Next up, forward and more have been previously continued, brings us to requests to amend an existing order of conditions. Excuse me. First up, 288 Quistit Avenue Joint Venture, 288 Quistit Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. Request to amend the order of conditions for Mass DEP number 25-4864 to reconstruct the stone wall in its current footprint. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I have promoted Tim Santos from Merrill Engineering to present his project. Sorry about that, Tim.
Sorry.
Lost
Excellent.
Steve again.
Good evening. For the record, Tim Santos from Merrill Engineers. With your permission, I will share my screen.
Yes, sir.
Can you see that? Assuming you can. Property is located at 288 Quistit Ave. This project was before you, I believe, last summer, June of 2023, at which time the board issued an order of conditions this is the plan to remove the existing stone wall that was there, construct a multi-tiered stone wall, as well as a large amount of fill to kind of flatten out the backyard. The client has decided not to go that route, and what they'd like to do is just rebuild the existing stone wall in kind. Any disturbed areas, lawn or landscape beds will be replaced in kind. Construction access is through this property. We will need to have some access to I guess this is the southwest, on 282 Quistit Ave, just to reconstruct this portion of the wall here. There is a letter in the notice of the amendment application granting access, the neighbor allowing the access on that property. If the board has any questions or concerns, I'd be more than happy to address them.
Thanks, Tim. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have no questions other than, Tim, where are you? Tim, they're gonna get rid of that pipe that Corvo found underneath the stairs.
Yeah,
right?
that was a special condition last time, so it carries over.
All
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Fallon.
No comments. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments or questions? Ron?
I'm all set, thank you.
All right. Is Steve back with us? Nope.
Nope.
All right. Betsy?
No comments. Great presentation, Tim.
Short and sweet.
Mm-hmm.
That makes it great. Keep it up. Courtney?
No comments. Good job.
All right. Kevin?
No comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat function.
Then I'll make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Last call. Questions or comments?
Oops, Steve's back.
All right. All right, Steve, I'm going to skip you for the moment. All right, so we're voting to close the hearing. Betsy?
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney?
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin?
O'Brien, aye.
Ron?
Driscoll, aye.
It is unanimous. With this quorum, we have closed this hearing.
Thank you for your time. Have a
Thanks,
great
Tim.
weekend. Bye.
Night, Tim.
Good night.
All right. Steve, we missed you.
Steve, you're on mute.
All right, next up is Luciano and Deborah Sents, 353 Edgewater Drive West, East Falmouth, Mass. Request to amend the order of conditions for Mass DEP number 25-4765 to install the previously approved sheet piling entirely landward of the existing stone wall. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this request is being withdrawn.
All righty. Something I said?
No, it was something. They were going back and forth with Waterways. Waterways wanted something else from us, but I think they've settled it, so we don't have to issue anything else. We've already permitted this.
Okay. Cool. That was even shorter and sweeter than Tim. Sorry, Tim, you lose. All right. Continued request to amend an existing order of conditions. And again, I apologize. I'm going to trash the name. Scott and Agnieszka Dresser, trustees, 44 Walcoit Landing Road, East Falmouth, Mass. Request to amend the order of conditions for Mass DEP number 25-4861 to reconstruct the foundation. Jen?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have promoted Mark Dibb from Cape and Islands Engineering to present his continued project.
Good evening again, Mark Dibb with Cape and Islands Engineering. So at the last hearing, there was I presented the project as the house was being essentially rebuilt completely on a new foundation because of poor conditions of the existing foundation. We resubmitted, and the foundation plan I had submitted had a note that potentially conflicted with that. So we did resubmit both the structural plan and floor plans that clearly show the reconstruction of the house. Again, it's in the same footprint, and it's because of just a poor existing foundation. So we resubmitted that, as well as resubmitted our plan with which clearly noted those conditions. That's essentially the project. If you have any additional questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark. Jen?
We don't have any, I don't have any comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mark.
Okay. Alan?
No comments. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner comments. Steve, you with us? You're up first. How about that?
Thanks. I'll even unmute for that. And I don't have any comments, but thank you.
All right. Betsy?
No comments.
Courtney,
Bird, no comments.
hey. Mark, thank you for the revised plan. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Kevin,
No comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Ron,
No comments, but good luck with the build. Thank you.
Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat function, Mr. Chairman.
Then I'll make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close the hearing. Last call, questions or comments? All right, we're voting to close the hearing. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
At night.
It is unanimous. We have closed this hearing. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Right, Mark.
All right. Next up, request to extend an existing order of conditions. First up, Town of Falmouth, Falmouth Beaches, Falmouth, Mass. How about that? DEP number 25-3493, requesting a 2-year extension. Jen,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the town is requesting a 2-year extension on the beach management plan so that we can be updated. The last time the beach management plan.
I'm sorry, Jen, I can't hear you.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Not any better.
No, I've got it up
Oh.
as high as I can.
That's
Nope.
good.
There you go.
It's good.
Oh,
You're there.
okay.
You're there.
All right.
Thank you.
Sorry. So the town's requesting a 2-year extension, just to give us time to update the management plan, and so we have begun discussions with the beach committee and with Woods Hole Group about what that new management plan is going to look like. But we just need some time to get it together.
Bird, so moved to
Gladfelter, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to grant a 2-year extension. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting to issue a 2-year extension. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
At night.
It is unanimous. We have granted a 2-year extension. Next up, Matt and Susan Dempsey, 172 Antler Shores Drive, Falmouth, Mass. DEP number 25-4624, requesting a 1-year extension. Jen,
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant's requesting a 1-year extension to finish up their project.
And how much do they have left to do?
Not sure off the top of my head, Courtney, but there's we recommend the 1-year extension.
Okay. Bird, so moved.
Gladfelter, second.
all right, we have a motion and a second to grant a 1-year extension. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting to grant the 1-year extension. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury, Ron,
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
At night.
It is unanimous. We have granted a 1-year extension. Next up, other business. J. David and H. Jane Preston, 50 Weatherglass Lane, East Falmouth, Mass. To approve the slope at 50 Weatherglass Lane as graded. Pay attention to this one, folks. It's actually kind of simple, but Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, pretty much going to promote probably everybody in attendees right now, or at least the attorneys. Right now, I am promoting Attorney Lawler up and Attorney Lawless
Okay.
up to address the board. But what the request is for those who remember the project, this was to repair the drainage and to move the right of way started with an enforcement matter. When the surveys were done, we realized that the right of way was in the wrong location. So part of the notice of intent filed was to fix the slope, regrade the slope to remove a lot of the fill that had been brought in, and to relocate the right of way into its correct location. Before you tonight is just a request to approve the slope as currently graded. The grades are slightly off, maybe a foot and a half. It is a part of the project that has a planting component to it. So right now, the only thing before this board, because we are getting, it's not graded. Again, it's slightly off the plan, but it's enough to cause concern to the abutters. So what I'm asking for this board is so we can try to get this project over the finish line, which it's still going to require some work, is that all I need the board to do is approve the slope as graded so that that portion of the project can get planted, and then we can go on with the rest and try to fix the rest of the project. There is significant issues with the drainage component of it, and that we're going to be working to fix that. Is that clear, Mr. Chairman?
I believe so. So is everybody clear? Our mission tonight is whether we will accept the slopes as they are at the moment. They're slightly different than the original plan. It's not significant. And part of the question will become, is it adversely contributing to drainage issues? So our purpose tonight is simply to deal with this slope. So I'm just going to caution anybody that wants to speak on it, stay focused, and you're limited to 3 minutes, so make it count.
So I guess, Mr. Chairman, the attorney that put the request in would be Attorney David Lawler, who is here, and the abutters attorney, Attorney Robert Lawless, is here for the abutters.
Is that a requirement to become an attorney to have law in your name? I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. All right. So,
I guess we start with Attorney Lawler.
Okay.
That would be me. And yeah, Bob and I did everything possible to make it more confusing with our names. Jennifer, is Raul on? He was.
Yes, Raul is here. Should I bring Raul on?
Yes, please.
Absolutely. I think everybody's just waiting to get called up. Poor Raul was trying to wait in the shadows.
Sorry, Raul. So I'm going to be very brief. There's been a long history of this project, and I know the board members are very familiar with it. And with respect to the actual physical plans that have been provided, we're close to the finish line, notwithstanding some of the drainage issues that Jennifer talked about. But the roadway was put in, and the slope was put in, and substantially in compliance with what was submitted and approved by the board. Now, in conversations, and I'll have Raul explain it in a little bit better detail and probably more coherent, that there's a couple of large trees, old growth trees, or I don't know if that's how you refer to them as, but very large trees. And it was determined when we were doing this that in order to preserve and save the trees, that the area around the trees, the grade would be about a foot or so higher just in that particular area, because it was believed that if we lowered the earth that extra foot, there's a strong possibility we could kill those trees. And those trees' root system are important with respect to erosion control, stability of the bank, and all those other things that we know that large root systems do. With respect to the bank itself, there has been, back in March, there was I hate to call things 100 years events nowadays with climate change. 100-year events happen a little sooner than 100 years, but we had a very significant storm in March, a real and I know it caused problems in other areas, and that type of storm would overwhelm any type of drainage system that caused some problems. But we did have some photographs, and I believe they were sent to Jennifer, of really virtually no water coming off the embankment at all. Any water coming into this area is coming directly off of the driveway, or some water is actually rolling all the way down Weatherglass. And I know that at some point in time we have to deal with some catch basins on Weatherglass itself to remediate that problem. And I think that's some of the stuff that Jennifer was talking about. But Raul, if you would jump in and just show, I don't know if you want to share the plan or just explain it, but you're the engineer, so I'm going to bow to you, and I would just want and also make sure that everything I said was correct.
Good evening. For the record, Raul Lizardi from Cape Bananas Engineering. If I could share my screen.
Yes, sir.
So the area in focus here in color is the bank that we graded, or the applicant graded, and the one that's in question for the board to approve. What we had proposed is to grade this side bank of the relocated way to some grades that were brought from an older survey more than a decade ago. What happened was that when the contractor started grading, we have these two large oak trees at this location. And to avoid affecting the root mass for these two trees, all of this area that was originally intended to be graded was not graded because root systems from those trees were there. And then areas over here that were showing some oak roots coming through were left a little higher than the intended grades from the plants. The purpose being to protect the trees and avoid harming those roots and eventually killing off the trees. For the majority of the bank, the grades are fairly well within a foot of what was proposed. The bank was always intended to slope, of course, to slope downhill from the south to the north onto the right of way. So that's not going to change no matter what we do or what we keep grading wise. But that was the whole intent of this application, is just to accept this grades, and the reasoning behind it is to protect the root mass for these two trees. I'll stop sharing and I'll leave it up to the commission.
Thanks, Raul. All right. I'm going to open up to commissioner comments. So, Betsy, we're going to start with you.
I don't have a problem with the slope as it is now.
Excellent. Okay. Courtney.
So I'm fine with it. You've answered the concerns I had by looking at the photographs, so that's good. And the plans. We got to get this fixed.
Yep. Thank you. All right. I feel the same way. I think the slopes that they are today are acceptable. I don't think it's adversely affecting the drainage or contributing adversely to the drain problems. I think the drainage is an issue of its own, but that's not what is in front of us tonight. So for me, the question is, are the slopes okay the way they are, or does the slope the way they are contribute adversely to the drainage problem? And in my opinion, it is not. Kevin.
Same comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Ron?
Yeah, I agree too. I think the slope is immaterial here, and to save the two old trees is definitely a positive. That's all. Thank you.
All right. Steve?
I agree with Ron.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Public chat. Mr. Lawless, I think he would like to speak. Start with you, sir.
Thank you very much for your time. The history of this, which we don't have to delve into deeply, is that there was a substantial amount of fill that was placed here improperly, illegally. That's why this was initiated. The problem that I have is that there's some areas where there's 2 feet. Just historically, when the commission made the decision, Jennifer Lincoln had suggested that we go back to some old lines that were shot. They were called the red lines. And apparently, there's some areas where this has not been reduced to the red lines by as much as 2 feet. That's of concern to my clients. That's the increased slope is too high, in their opinion. The second problem is that the statement that the trees need to be saved, and my clients don't differ with that, but where in fact are the roots? We believe that these trees should be uncovered to determine where the roots begin, because it's my client's position, and their engineer has suggested as well, David Martin, that what we should do is uncover the tree to determine how far down. In other words, is it just some of the bark of the tree that's been covered with this fill, and so we could reduce it down before we reach the root structure of those trees. And I think that we'll see that with the reduction of this, it may reduce the amount of the problems with drainage, which is another issue. That's my client's concerns.
Excellent. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Jen, anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat function.
All right. All right. So just to be clear, what I believe I'm looking for, Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, is we're looking for a motion and a second, and of course, subsequent vote to accept the slopes as they are today.
Correct.
Okay, is everybody clear on that? So that's essentially what we're voting on.
Correct,
So,
Mr. Chairman, and there's a hand raised in the attendees.
Okay.
It's Mr. Bergen, the abutter, that Attorney Lawless is representing. Mr. Bergen, I've promoted you to a panelist. If you want to address the board, now is the time.
Yes, I would like to address. Can I share my screen?
Can you see a video of you?
I don't see. Oh, okay, wait.
There we go.
How's that?
yes, you can share your screen. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Okay. I can't get it to come up.
Okay.
I apologize for that. But basically, what I would like to say is that what we have is a 45-degree slope that is covered with what I would describe as heavy-duty jute matting. It's probably jute matting times 10. And we have problems with the drainage system that just doesn't work. I was trying to pull up a photo that would show the bottom of the right-of-way, which has failed. The whole system is in complete failure. And, you know, I'm saying this as one of the people who spent thousands of dollars to make this work. We're trying to make it so Green Pond doesn't have any more erosion in it. We've been working on this for almost 10 years, and we're back where we were 4 years ago before we even started to redo the right-of-way. I think that the drainage system has too many things going against it, including questions on the design and 7 catch basins that are unmaintained and have a total capacity of 4,600 gallons. So to me, the slope is just one more strike against the drainage system. And I think when you take off that matting, you will have erosion. Thank you for the opportunity.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you for contributing. Any other questions or comments? All right, what are you thinking, folks?
I'll make a motion to accept the slope as it currently exists.
Bird second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept the slopes as we see them today. And the drainage issue will be dealt with separately. So we have a motion and a second. We're voting. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. For the record, we have accepted the slopes as graded, and we would now expect that the plantings would proceed. And for future discussion is the drainage issues.
Yeah, and with respect to the plantings, I believe they're on site and they'll be going in soon, which is I think this is the best time to plant anyway, so that's a good thing.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone, for participating.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks, Raul. All right. So we have two more things under other business. And I think we should do the housekeeping first. We have I don't know, I'm going to call it an issue with a vote we made earlier tonight for an RDA at 449. Jen, you'll have to explain.
Yes,
please.
so we got a little confused on our end. 449 was supposed to be voted as a continuance and not a negative. So what I need the board to do is rescind the negative determination vote and vote a continuance to October 23rd.
I'll move to rescind our approval or our whatever the vote was.
And you're going to continue it to October 23rd.
Right, but this is
We have to do that as a separate vote. So
yeah, it's a separate
All right, I
motion
second.
to rescind. So I need a second, I guess. We
I
need.
just
hold
seconded.
on, will you please?
Oh, God.
Too many co-chairs. Yeah. Jen, why do we need to? If we accepted the staff's recommendation, why do they want to continue?
Because it was just a
fair?
mistake on our end. We were supposed to request a continuance, not a negative. I think we just got a little too many papers on our end. That's all.
Okay, but we basically approved their project. So, okay. All right. So we have a motion and a second to rescind our acceptance of staff's recommendation.
Correct.
We're voting to rescind our earlier vote. Everybody clear on that? Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
Okay, O'Brien, aye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
I'm
All right, unanimous. We've rescinded our vote for 449. Now, I need a motion and a second to continue 449 to October what?
23rd.
23rd.
Bird so move.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue that RDA for 449 to 1023.
Correct.
We're voting. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Ron.
Driscoll, aye.
Steve.
Patton, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued that RDA to 1023. Man, Something so simple. All right. We have one more piece. So we've spoken in the past, recent past too, about having an open discussion about things like fire pits, what would be acceptable, what isn't. Things like how we deal with the 200 square feet in the velocity zone, and something about government review that Jen will explain better later. And I guess anything anybody really wants to throw out there. We won't necessarily be deciding everything for that meeting, but I mean, I hope it'll be very productive, but I hope it gives us, hold on, Courtney, will you? So what we want to do is get some guidelines going and what we think would be acceptable. We don't need to drag this out for 14 meetings, but just like to get all of us together and talk about it. I would like to see it an in-person meeting, a roundtable effect, if you will. I'm okay if, you know, any engineers listening want to participate. We just want to keep it, you know, on topic. So if we're going to have several topics, then, you know, need to focus. So that's the purpose of this other business. And before Jen's hand falls off because she's like Courtney and can't wait her turn, Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, a few things. There are a number of topics that we want to do. But I can put together an agenda if anybody wants to send me a topic that you may want to discuss. I don't think we're going to get everything settled in one work group session. I know Alyssa's going to want to participate. She won't be able to participate on the 9th. We're thinking of starting this on October 9th, earlier in the afternoon, maybe set a 5 to 7 meeting. We give 20 minutes for each topic if we can stick to that. I know we want to talk about fire pits. We want to bring up the shed issue. We need to bring up the 200 square feet. We need to revise the administrative review regulations. I know the staff wants to talk to you about gravel in a B zone and some of the complications we're having with that. So I can put something together and send it out next week. It would be a meeting. It'd just be kind of like a working group just to get these topics out there and start the discussion. We may have one of these meetings every month. We may have one every other month until we kind of settle it. Does that seem appropriate, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, I think it would be a good start, you know, and some of these things we might be able to resolve right away. Resolve isn't the right word. I mean, it's just stuff we've been kind of a gray area. So,
so a resolution is going to be a change in the regulations. A change in the regulations takes numerous public hearings. We need to put our regulations in the paper, wait 60-day comment period. So it's a little bit more than us just discussing it. But once we start, we can decide if we want to change it piecemeal or if we want to do a big reg revision with all the different topics all at once.
right, but at least with this, we'll have something to offer. And then I'd like to think it can be uncomplicated and we can, you know, probably do it all in one. What am I trying to say? You know, propose all the changes in one fell swoop as opposed to piecemeal.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. I mean, you know, again, it doesn't have to be complicated. So, all right, Courtney.
No, I'm just going to second Jen's comments. I think the first step is to make sure that we have a list of comments. And so she's saying send your suggestions. That's what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Yeah, and let's not revisit every single regulation in the book, but let's really concentrate on the stuff that's kind of vague or you know, like we've never really addressed fire pits in the past. you know, the 200 square foot just needs to be, let's say, reconciled. So that sort of thing. And then just, you know, we just don't want to make the meeting, you know, 6 hours long either, you know. And then after, you know, once we get a better guideline of what we want to do, then we can open it up to public. I mean, this is going to be a public meeting anyway, but we would open it up more with some more guidelines for everybody to look at. So
What time are you thinking, Mr. Chairman?
hold on, Betsy.
Are you proposing this for our day off?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna be there. So just, but that's okay.
No, so does anybody have any opposition to any other day of the week? When is Alyssa going to be available? Said she's not available.
She's back on the 11th. I mean, we could do it the next week. We're just missing Maury for a couple of weeks, but like if we put something together, Maury can always send me your comments. So if you wanted to do it the week after, we could do it on the 15th, that Tuesday, or the 17th, that Thursday. I'd prefer I'd prefer the 14th or the 15th that week. And I'd just say, I mean, we don't have to spend 3 or 4 hours. We do an initial agenda, 2 hours, we discuss it, see what we can come up with.
Right,
so if anybody has any, Betsy, when are you back?
I'm back the 15th.
You're back the 15th. Okay, how about
I was just checking because Steve and I have meetings on CPC meetings on Thursday night.
Thursday? Okay, so it can't be Thursday.
Well, it can be
Oh,
Thursday.
once a month.
Twice a month, Steve.
Twice a month.
17th. It could be the 17th. Thursday the 17th would work.
That works for me. Do you want to do 5 to 7, 4 to 6, 6 to 8?
Let's start with, is the 17th sound okay to everyone?
Mr. Chair, I might have a conflict with the Falmouth internet board that night on a Thursday, but I'll know in a week or so. So if you want to schedule, go ahead.
I'm available.
Steve's available.
Betsy's available, I'm available.
Okay, Thursday the 17th. And do you want to do it as early as 4 o'clock? Would you rather do later?
4 is fine.
All right.
Yeah, I don't like paying overtime. Just kidding.
Working over.
Courtney,
4
what time's
o'clock.
the municipal light board usually?
5:30 to 6. So, you know, if it was a 4, are we doing me in person or
In person.
You know,
School administration room is nice for that.
So if it's in town hall, I can just move from one to the other. I don't know that we have a meeting that night. I'm just saying that's usually when we meet.
All right, why don't we do October 17th, 4 to 6. We'll call it a reg workshop. I'll get it posted and send me your list of topics and I'll put together an initial agenda. We may not be able to hit all topics, but we'll start the discussion.
Yeah, and I think that's all we can expect. Steve?
So for instance, the staff has issues with gravel, and I have other questions about other pervious, non-pervious materials in that same genre, for instance.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And again, we're just going to open it up. You know, I mean, we don't want to get too far off the path, but that's the sort of thing we want to do. Just what you just said, Steve, is just throw it all out there and then see where we go. And again, I don't expect we're going to resolve everything right away anyway, but it'd be nice to get find what direction we want to go in, you know. So.
And from a staff's point of view, Steve, we're gonna bring to the commission areas of the regs that we feel are slightly problematic, that are sometimes confusing for the applicants, confusing for the engineers, confusing for the staff. And we're just gonna bring that to your attention.
for us.
You can
And for
change
us.
it, you can keep it. It doesn't matter to us. We're just gonna tell you, like,
I agree.
you know, I can sit there and say, you know, sheds used to be a thing. All of a sudden, the board started taking a really hard line on sheds. It's really handicapping some people, and it's real. We need to find a way around to let somebody have a small shed somewhere.
Right.
All of a sudden, we started saying they couldn't be closer to the present primary structure, and in some cases, that is impossible. So it's
Yes.
things like that we want to bring to the board's attention to say, hey, from a staff level, we're seeing this as being a problem out there, and we want your input.
I agree.
Yeah. It's a difference between 6 acres and 15,000 square feet.
Absolutely.
You know, things change.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So Thursday, the 17th, from 4 to 6 p.m. If you got anything that's stuck in your craw, send it over. And
Send
let's
it
see
over.
if we can work on resolving whatever. And we'll just get through as much as we can get through. Maybe we can try to prioritize. Maybe we'll just give each thing 15 minutes and then move on. But I think, you know, even just a few minutes will give us a direction. So that's that. Last motion. Who wants it?
Motion to adjourn.
So
Pat,
moved.
second.
Gladfelter, aye.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye.
O'Brien, I.
Driscoll, aye.
Pat and I. And I apologize for my computer, or whatever that was.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
It was the most exciting thing that happened today, Steve.
To me, yeah, pretty much.
No, for us too.
Where's Steve?
It's
There he
like,
is. There's
where
Steve.
is he?
Hey, we got through the housing authority meeting in 55 minutes. That was pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Thank you,
Good night,
everyone.
everybody.
Good night, everybody.